and welcome to another episode of the Mind to Lead podcast. I am sat with today Sonia McDonald. Sonia, amazing to be sat here with you.
Thank you. It's great to be with you too.
We've just had a long sort of 10, 15 minute chat before we sort of got going while Kyle was setting up. So let's get stuck in. So for those that don't know who you are, could you give a little bit of an overview of who is Sonia McDonald and what's brought you here to this point in your life today?
That's a really great question. Gosh, who am I? So I'd say, first of all, I am a mum. So I'm a mum of a beautiful 18-year-old, full-time solo mum, which I have loved, but it's definitely been my most challenging role. I'm also the founder of two companies. One is called McDonald Inc. and the other one is called Leadership HQ. I'm also a keynote speaker, which I absolutely adore, and an executive coach, which I love, and also I'm a writer. I've written 2 books and I'm on to my 3rd book, so I love writing. So, yeah, I kind of wear all these different hats, but everything is around me being the best I can be in the leadership space. So,
Fantastic. Yeah, before we started this, I was just on your LinkedIn profile. So you've been in the leadership space for around 25 years, sort of coming from that HR space, which obviously gave that grounding and that sort of people skills. And you were top 250 influential women across the globe. Wow. So how did that come about? Was there like a nomination? How did you get that award? That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was really interesting. A company in the UK reached out to me. And so even if you look at the list, it's pretty phenomenal, the other women that are on the list. And it was more around influential in terms of, in particular, having a voice or having that influence online through social media, through what you're posting in terms of, I mean, I am pretty avid, especially on LinkedIn, so around the Twitter and the Instagram and all those different social media channels around that you're sharing thoughts and stories and blogs and podcast, like all different things that you're doing to have a voice to make a change or influence the world. So there's lots of incredible women that are part of that, prime ministers and CEOs and amazing community leaders. And it's just really good to see that, you know, when they approached me, that there's phenomenal women out there that are really trying to be the change that we want to see. So, and they do that through the social media channels.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about leadership. So I'd love to dive into that because, you know, it's called the Mind to Lead for a reason, because I think to be an extraordinary leader, you need to have the mindset and the characteristics and the traits of what makes a good leader. So in your 25 years of experience, perhaps could you shed some light into the world of leadership, what you've discovered, and perhaps let's start with that whole mindset piece of what makes a good leader.
That's a really good question. I think, and when you talk about mindset, I think that's the key. So for me, in terms of, you know, the work and the research and the consulting we've done for so many years now, and that's why, you know, I espouse, and I wrote a book called Leadership Attitude. It's around leadership is an attitude, it's a mindset, it's a choice, it's an action. It's not a role or title. It's around having that mindset that leadership is about making a difference, making an impact. I mean, if I could go back in time, and this is why I'm really passionate about, especially our future generations, I wish we were really teaching them very early on, like I did with my daughter when I was as a leader, as a mother, understanding what leadership is about how we can make a difference through our words and through our actions. You know, how we can help each other, how we can support each other, I always say leadership is about, if you can inspire others to do more, learn more and be more, that is leadership. And we can do it at any age, anyone can do it. So it does start with that mindset, starting to think about, okay, so what is it about who I am and how I can make a difference to this world? Because at the end of the day, that's, you know, you want to leave a legacy, and it's just about making, even if it's just something small, it can still have a ripple effect. So that's how I see leadership, is around how we can, help serve others.
And for someone listening to this right now who is in a leadership position and wants to improve their mindset, where would you suggest that they start?
I think making a choice that this is something that you really want to, because you can learn it. You know, I mean, we always say that our leaders born or made. You know, I suppose you do meet people that could have that I don't know, could have been kind of born with those characteristics that you might identify in leadership, but I definitely think you can learn it. So it's around kind of going, you know what, I really want to embrace and learn this. And things, for instance, gosh, there's so many different platforms, is starting with like even a couple of books around leadership, talking to people, like finding a mentor, I think is really important. There's so many different, we've got an amazing blogs and writings and different resources on leadership on our websites, but you can go to Harvard Business Review website, you could go to Inc., you could go to the Entrepreneur, the Forbes, like there's lots of different things. You can sometimes get a bit overwhelmed with all the information. So I think just sticking to a couple of things that really resonate to you. I still have 10 leadership books beside my bed. I'm constantly reading different leadership books. So for me, I really love having that knowledge. I think self-awareness is key as well. So for me, and again, I think even myself and all the leaders that I work with and coach, we're always still on this self-awareness journey. So really understanding who you are, understanding your values, understanding what you stand for. Especially in the last few years, my journey has really taken a real focus on how we can be more kind and more courageous and more inclusive as leaders, because now I'm seeing in terms of all the research and the work I'm doing, this is what matters and this is what's needed. So therefore I am out there espousing that. I'm out there focusing on that. I'm out there coaching and teaching others that, and I'm seeing a lot of people going, okay, I want more, I want to learn that. You can learn this, like you can learn these different skills and different behaviours. It's just about focusing on getting those skills.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you had 12 books stacked up, which is amazing. I'm a big reader as well. I'm constantly like reading book after book after book. Any particular book that you've read recently or in the last 10 years that's had a big impact on your life?
The one book that I've really loved, my mentor gave me actually, and I've recommended a number of clients that I'm coaching, is the Art of the Good Life. I forgot the author, but it's an excellent book. I'm currently reading a book called Stillness is the Key, which I'm absolutely loving. I'm also reading a kindness book at the moment, which is a lovely little book. And what's some other ones that I've really loved? Good to Great by Jim Collins is an excellent book. Brené Brown's work is great. Simon Sinek's work is really good as well. There are probably a couple of my favourites. Look, there's so many. I tend to go from leadership books, but also books that I think really help in, like someone recommended a client of mine a couple of weeks ago called The Resilience Project. Haven't read it yet, but I've bought it. So, I'm always on the lookout for those sort of things, because I think any of that kind of knowledge is really powerful and, again, just helps with that self-awareness piece.
Absolutely. I think for $30, you can literally absorb a person's, wisdom that they've maybe spent 20, 30, 50 years, gathering, and you can read that, in the space of, a week, a month, even a year, depending on how quick you read. I think it is just reading is something that, we should be embracing more, because there's just so much amazing knowledge out there. And I love the fact that you just touched on self-awareness, because this is something that I am super passionate about. And I think that in order to get ourselves to personal mastery, it all starts with self-awareness. If you don't know who you are, what you want, what you stand for, what your values are, how can you make an impact in the world? So we say these things like become more self-aware, but what steps have you personally taken? You've obviously read a lot, but has there been anything else that you've done that has really given you more levels of self-awareness?
I think definitely reading has given me self-awareness around, like when I read things, I sort of think to myself, I wonder if I'm doing that, or I wonder if I can actually put that kind of insight into practice. Like even this is why the Stillness is the Key has been really interesting. Like this is just an example. which we all do, I work very, very hard to the point where sometimes I don't know how to switch off because but then I've realised like reading The Stillness is the Key, and there's some excellent stories around great historical leaders and what they've done around stillness to be more powerful, is I've started going, okay, how can I take that learning from those leaders or stories in this book and start to practice that in terms of, okay, how do I become more still? I need to go, you know what, I actually don't need to look at my emails tonight. I'm just going to sit, maybe even be still for 15 minutes or journal for 15 minutes. So it's actually looking at those things and being self-aware around, I wonder if I'm... also things like getting feedback I think is really important. So being really open to feedback and getting feedback from others. That's why I have a mentor and a coach and an amazing team, and my daughter's constantly giving me feedback around
probably not wanted feedback.
Sometimes, yes. Like, I really do I do that? She's like, yeah, you do. Like, okay, that's good learning. Also being present. I think the really important thing is being really present, and also being present in terms of thinking about, or like being a fly on the wall and watching yourself going, okay, I'm in this connection or in this conversation with someone, how am I operating? Like also being reflective afterwards. At the end of each day, I reflect on my day and go, okay, how was I today? And I remember, and it was a few weeks ago. Oh, funny enough, no, I did it this morning. Obviously I told you about, I had to drive to Melbourne and I had to move my daughter into university, and it was really hectic. And yesterday I was in the city racing around with her, trying to, I had to wake up really early. She wanted me to take her to the train to the university. I was a bubbling mess because I was like, okay. And then my team were ringing me and I was a little bit like, okay, I've just got a bit on. And I felt a bit. And then this morning I came in, I said, hey, look, I reflected on my day yesterday. I could have communicated with you better, that I just had a few things. I mean, I think that we have to be kind to ourselves. We're human. We've got things going on. Yeah. But I came in and said, I just wanted to let you know that please forgive me if I seemed a bit short with you yesterday. I reflected and they went, oh, gosh, we did know that you had a lot on. But we did notice that. And are you okay? And I said, yes, absolutely okay now. It's just but, being reflective around, oh, man, what was I my best version today? Like, could I have done things differently? I think that sort of self-awareness, and also that you're linked to your values. So, I have my values, and at the end of each day, if I go, my values are things like being resilient and being fun and being passionate and being kind. If I kind of go, oh, I could have been a bit kinder, I need to work on that. But does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think reflection is one of the most powerful exercises that you can do. And I journal every day, and I actually ask myself those very questions, like how could I have given more today? How did I show up today? What could I improve upon tomorrow? And I just think there's probably not enough people out there that do that. And I would just encourage anyone, I'm sure as you would, to work on your self-awareness and do the journaling and do the just the sitting in silence. Like, I mean, I do meditate every day, but whether you call it meditation, sitting in silence, whatever you want to call that practice, but just sit and spend some time with yourself and your thoughts. It's so, so powerful. So I'm really pleased we just touched on that. Another word that you've brought up a lot is kindness.
Yes.
So you also mentioned you've written your third book, which is incredible. So can you talk to us about that book and why you think kindness is such an important trait when it comes to leadership?
It's interesting around, in terms of even all the research. So my book I'm reading, my book that I'm writing at the moment is called First Comes Courage, and it's going to be really focused on courage, but also with a real focus on why kindness is so important when it comes to courage, because it actually takes courage to be kind as well, especially when people are not being kind to you. So you have to be really, I'm going to be kind. You can't control someone else's behaviour. You can only control yours. Yes. I think we've seen kindness as a weakness. This is where I see a lot of leaders will say to me, but if I'm kind, that'll mean that I'm weak. I'm like, no, you can be strong as a leader, but you can be kind at the same time. Kindness isn't a weakness. And there's so much research out there that the number one thing stopping leaders or executives moving up the career ladder is actually being able to connect and build trust with others. Wow. because trust is everything.
Absolutely.
And one way to build trust is by being kind. And that's by being kind through being present, caring about others and asking and saying, how can I help you? Being grateful for others and saying, thank you so much for, even today I called an Uber into the city and I said, thank you so much for driving me. And he looked at me and he was like, did you just say thank you? And I said, well, yes, I'm really grateful that you've driven me. He said, no one thanks me.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's got to be shown kind. Like, we're constantly so busy and racing around, even, yesterday, I'm just showing examples of kindness. Even yesterday, I turned up in Melbourne to this meeting and the receptionist sitting there all alone. And I went up to her and I said, oh, hello. I said, you look beautiful today. She had these stunning glasses on. She looked at me, she went, excuse me, what? What did you just say to me? And I said, good morning. I said, you look beautiful today. And she went, what? No one says, what? No. Wow. And I said, don't be. She goes, no one talks to me. They just turn up and go, I'm here to see such and such. And I said, oh, I am here to see Megan, but I also want it. Like, it's really important that, like, we're always on our phones when, like, I don't know. We just need to connect more. And that's how you build trust, is through connection and through, helping and serving others, or, or showing gratitude, or, helping, or just doing a good deed for someone as well. I think I think the world needs a lot more kindness. And imagine if our leaders of today, look at Jacinda Ardern. She's becoming quite iconic as a leader around the globe because she's kind, and she shows that, but she's still strong.
Yeah, and she gets stuff done as well, So I think that's really powerful, because I think that people, you're so right, you nailed it there, where people think that kindness can be seen as weakness. So let's take a situation where if you are a leader and you are dealing with a very challenging team member and you are showing them kindness, you're being grateful, you're asking if they're okay, and you're constantly getting negative pushback, and this person is just, you're sort of really trying to be kind, but you're really being challenged. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who really wants to improve their empathy and their kindness, but is really struggling with a difficult team member or co-worker?
Yeah, and that's a really great question, because I've worked with so many people that have actually encountered that. Again, sometimes people, even if you do show kindness, are not open to it, or they don't really want to kind of reciprocate or let themselves be seen or show that vulnerability around. As a leader, I think I'm in kind of two thoughts around this. Like, if I talked about Jim Collins, Good to Great, he always talks about having the right people on the bus.
Right.
So I think sometimes, and even Brené Brown has this quote, it's unkind to be unclear. It's kind to be clear. So I think as a leader, it's really important that you have the right people on the bus. So even if you're showing kindness and being clear around and being strong around, but with kindness, these are kind of expectations. This is what you're accountable for. This is your role and things like that. Or this is what we want, we need you to behave. That's, especially linked to values. If it gets to a point, I'm a great believer that you're showing kindness and that you are doing everything you can to support and lead and coach and direct and help that person be the best person they want to be, and that you're finding that time and time again that their attitude or their performance hasn't improved. I think that's where you need to, again, start to be like clearer around expectations and around their choices, because at the end of the day, they're not on the bus. They're not on the bus, and their kind of work performance and attitude, if it's not aligned to your business or your team, that's actually going to feed, like, that is going to be contagious, and people are going to see that. So I'm all about leaders leading by example, and also around courage, around not walking past behaviour that they wouldn't accept as well. And but the thing is, there has to be kindness in that. I think that even when you do have to say that this isn't working, you still should be kind. I have heard stories, and this is where I coach a lot of my leaders around, with any sort of process or any sort of kind of intervention where something isn't working, don't be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Make sure that, again, not everything works out, but things, you've got to have the right people on the bus that truly also get your mission and your vision and your purpose as well.
And sometimes it's actually the kindest thing to do to almost let that person, go because maybe it's not the right environment for them. And, one negative person in the team can bring the whole team down, and, you see the whole culture being impacted by that. So sometimes the saying is cruel to be kind, but maybe you're not being cruel, if the person's not right for the business. But it's definitely an interesting conversation. I think that one that leaders really do struggle with. And again, that comes back to courage. So how as leaders can we be more courageous, and how in your own life have you had to sort of really show courage and take the first step towards making that difficult decision or starting that business? Like, what in your own life have you done to express courage, I guess?
There's so many times, honestly, and sometimes it hasn't worked out the way I thought it would. Like, being really courageous. That didn't work out. Because sometimes things don't work out. Even when you can learn lots of different things when things don't work out.
Absolutely.
You know what I think? I believe that the more courageous you are and the more that you're out there putting courage into action, the more courageous you start to become. Yeah. Because you obviously get more resilient and you kind of go, you know what, I've done it once, I can do it again. And I just think we've also got this one life as well. And I think time is our most precious resource. So for me, it's around going, you know what, we've only got this one life. I don't want to look back on my life and go, I wish I was more courageous then, or I wish I was more courageous in that conversation, or I wish I was more courageous wish I'd asked out that man out, you know what I mean? Or I wish I'd actually started that company. My team, I'm always going, they go, maybe we could start this other business. I'm like, Sonia, can you stop being so courageous around, let's focus on this. I'm like, okay, but like even yesterday when I dropped off my daughter at school, she said to me, I'm gonna go for student council. I'm gonna have the courage to go for student council. I said, you go there, you go and do it. She goes, yeah. And I was like, because when you do it once, you're gonna get more courage. So having the courage to have those kind of conversations, it actually makes you more confident. Like and also I think sometimes we kind of stop ourselves by having courageous conversations because we are probably more attached to what might be the outcome of the conversation, and we have expectations or assumptions around, what happens if I upset this person, or what happens if this person gets, reacts in a way that, makes me feel unhappy. You know what I mean? And sometimes this is why you've got to have the courageous conversations, because you're there to support them and coach them to look at things differently, but also explore what might be going on for them. So if someone is not performing well at work, I just want to ignore it because I don't want to have the courageous conversation because I don't want to upset them. But the thing is, by actually going, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Or do you want to go and grab a coffee and go, hey, I've just noticed that this is going on and I'm just a little bit disappointed or confused. Whatever you're going on for you, I want to know what's going on for you. Like, I'm here to support you. Is actually, you can build connection and trust by exploring that sort of, I've noticed that you're not performing well here. Do you want me to help you? Can I coach you anyway? So it's just having that, thinking of it as I'm a leader, and at the end of the day, my intent is good. If I'm having a courageous conversation with you, it's because my intention is because I am here to help and serve you. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think perhaps the problem is as well is that people think that they've got to come up with the answer to that person's problem, and ultimately the only person that can really do that is that person. And as a leader, it's just about, I guess, asking the right questions. Yeah. And just knowing that I'm here when you need me, I'm available to you. And I think that's enough sometimes for people to open up. And then as soon as they say what's on their mind, they feel so much better already. Yeah. But again, it's just having the courage to ask, are you okay? And seeing what opens up. So you've written 3 books, you've got 2 businesses. What's next? What's the big project coming up? You mentioned a event. So let's talk about that.
Our awards.
Yes, the awards. This sounds amazing. So what's going on? What's happening there?
We're on a movement. We're wanting to create a world of kind and courageous leaders and leadership in organisations. So we're on this movement. Part of that movement is recognising, acknowledging, celebrating kind and courageous and inclusive leaders and teams and businesses. So we wanted a platform where we can go, you know what, these are companies and these are leaders and these are unsung heroes and people that are actually making a difference and making an impact. They're actually really aligned to leadership. They really understand that leadership is what it takes to make a difference today in the world. And we want to share their story. We want to share who they are and their story, because we see way too much negativity in the media when, you know what, there are some amazing, amazing people out there. So we're holding this incredible event. We're holding it in Brisbane this year, so we're going to take it to each state each year. Next year is in Melbourne. This year is in Brisbane. We've got Guy Russo, the former CEO of Kmart, who is, again, a remarkably kind and courageous leader. As our keynote speaker, we've got lots of different categories running from CEO to the year, student leader, future leader, community, men and women, like lots of different categories. It's free to enter, and we just want to celebrate them on the 8th of May. So, yeah, it's free to enter. Tickets are on sale at the Sofitel. Please nominate. Like, we want lots of people. It's just, we just really want to, it's all around values. Like, so the nomination form's easy, and it's all around behaviours and values. And we've already started showcasing on social media some of the nominees, and they're just, honestly, it's so humbling to see these incredible people out there. So that's what we want. We want to change the face of leadership, so people can see the importance of leadership. Yeah.
Amazing. And I think that, so what we'll do is we'll put a link in the show notes.
Thanks.
So if you're listening to this now and you are thinking, I know somebody who's kind, who's courageous, who is an incredible person, an amazing leader, then absolutely get them nominated, because this event, sounds fantastic. And I think leaders do need to be celebrated, because it's not easy, you've really got to dig deep, and you've got to continue learning and growing as a leader. And I think that's something that, is really important. So one question I like to ask all of my guests, obviously throughout your many years and experience of working with leadership teams, like, what do you personally do every day? You mentioned reflection and self-awareness, but do you have any sort of habits or routines that you do on a regular basis that make you show up in such a, wonderful state every day?
I love that question, because I always say your character is built from your habits. I'm being really congruent here. I don't always practice these habits.
We don't always, no.
I do my best.
Yeah, your intention is there.
My intention is there. I know it's there. I do it most days, but not every day. Some days I go, oh my gosh, I'm just running late. So I'm a morning person. So for me, I love waking up in the morning, and I do a lot of visualization and affirmations, which is really important around like what my intentions are, and affirmations, because sometimes we do get, I call them ants, automatic negative thoughts crawling through our brain. So I squash those and do affirmations, and I do journaling. I'm very passionate about journaling. I love reading, so I spend about 15 minutes in the morning reading. It tends to be a leadership book. I'm reading one around that one I mentioned, the stillness one. What else do? I do my best to do some exercise. I like walking, but because I'm power walking around the city a lot with meetings and things, I tend to sometimes let that go. Also, I'm very much around, for me, my health, like eating really healthy is really important. So looking after like my skin and making sure that I have like a fresh juice in the morning is something that I really love, and I take lots of vitamins. So I think that's, and gratitude, like I'm very much around gratitude. So in the mornings, I really focus on my purpose. So like in the morning, like I'm really grateful that I get to spend each day doing the work that I do, meeting beautiful and amazing people like yourselves. That is something that I really kind of focus on, like what am I grateful for, and affirmations and visualization and journaling is really important for me. It just kind of really sets myself up. But the reflection piece at the end of the day is something that I do every day.
Yeah.
And also a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I know, maybe two.
Maybe a bottle and a straw.
That's good. I'm trying to change that.
Hey, we're all human. We've all, it's whatever you do to switch off. That's what I say. And look, final question, because obviously I want to be respectful of your time. What does a successful life look like to you?
my gosh.
I love this question. I get so excited about the response because everyone's is different.
Oh gosh, what's a successful life? Oh wow. I don't know that I'm making a difference. A successful life is about significance. So for me, it's just, making a difference to people's leadership and people's confidence and how they see themselves, and that I want them to see themselves as being really worthy and that they're capable of, giving them the power or giving them the insights for them to see that inner courage and kindness is something that I think success is about, that I want to leave a legacy that, my daughter can say, wow, my daughter, I'll get emotional if I talk about her, but that she sees that I'm a role model. That's success for me, that my beautiful little girl goes, you know what, my mum has given me the courage and kindness to be the best version of me. So creating that ripple effect is, to me, about that success.
Amazing. And for all the mums out there, I'm sure they can be listening to that and nodding their heads and probably getting emotional themselves. So I think that's really, really powerful. Sonia, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm definitely going to go on and nominate. I've got a few people that I'm thinking of right now who I think are pretty exceptional. But no, honestly, thank you so much. And hopefully we can do more work together in the future.
I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mind to Lead podcast. I really hope you got some great takeaways and key learnings from this episode. To help us spread the message, please give us a rating and leave us a review. We love reading your thoughts and your insights and your learnings. And look, reach out to me. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Georgie Hubbard. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Georgie L. Hubbard. Let's connect. I hope you have an incredible day and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon.